Good evening. Hello. Hi. Welcome. I'm Amy Fawn. I'm chair of the MFA Writing Program, and tonight is Ladies' Night at Word World. So, Ladies' Night at Word World was inevitable. Of our 25 graduating MFA students this year, we have 16 fantastic women writers and 9 equally excellent men writers. So this isn't really a surprise. The world of literature is by many accounts comprised of predominantly women writers and readers. Yet for the last 3 years, the literary organization VITA has been keeping track of the gender disparities in book reviews, from the giant New York Times to the smaller literary journals. And the numbers, unfortunately, do not reflect the significant role that women are currently having in the literary world. And so while the VITA count has certainly disappointed, the reaction from both men and women writers has been encouraging, that we can and will do better. And just to give you a sense of the numbers, the New Yorker in 2012 published 583 bylines by men compared to 218 for women. In the New York Times, men comprised of 488 bylines compared to 237 for women. And in the Times Literary Supplement, men comprised 291 compared to 113 for females. So we can do better. And what's been heartening in seeing the reaction is that people are shocked and they're disappointed and they look at each other and they say, what can we do to make this better? Our graduates and alumni are the future tastemakers of the literary world. They are the writers, the editors, the critics, the reviewers, and the curators who will determine what we read and value as literature. So it is you who can change the numbers and reflect the talent that we will see and hear tonight and at all our Word Worlds this year. I'd like to thank all the friends and family who've come tonight to support our readers, the first-year committee who has organized the Word World readings and receptions, David Marini, our program manager, our fantastic faculty, and finally, our wonderful students and readers this year. And I will be introducing Kate Chianese, written by Nick Johnson. Admit it, you're intrigued. Her unique diction has undoubtedly coaxed your ear into eavesdropping. You want to know why a llama lives in a lair, or the difference between peanuts and cashews, because you're quite certain she's not talking about nuts or legumes. And you've heard something of a lurker ledge and a car named Turtle. So you take a nonfiction class with her, assuming clarity will be forthcoming. Then you learn that she spent her childhood breeding rats and being homeschooled and running around barefoot chasing chickens with a goat named Flower, who received the incorrect sperm once and had kids with undesirable ears. Admit it, you're even more intrigued. Chances are you won't hear any of that tonight, though, as Kate will probably read fiction, but it will be just as quirky, just as enigmatic, and as lovely as her smile, her upbringing, her memoir. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you Kate Chianese.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank my thesis committee. I am eternally grateful to Anne Marino, who has supported me throughout these 2 years in grad school. Last semester in fiction workshop, she mapped out an entire novel on the blackboard for us in a pencil skirt and heels. I mean, who else could possibly inspire me more? Thank you, Anne, for all your help and encouragement. I would not be standing up here without you. Matthew Irabarne, thank you for saving me poems that remind you of my characters. Your kindness and wisdom have made me a better writer. Thank you so very much. I want to thank every teacher I've had and not had at CCA, as well as my peers, the second years, the first years, and alumni. You guys make me excited about writing. A big thank you to my sister and roommate. Thank you, Tanya, for always being so incredibly genuine, and I'm so glad we've been in this together. Thank you to my boyfriend, Nick Johnson, for your loving guidance throughout this experience. Thank you for always being there for me. And lastly, I would like to thank my parents for being my teachers throughout my whole life and for always supporting my writing since the day I started to tell stories. I am so appreciative and proud that you are my family. Tonight, I'm going to read 2 different coming-of-age stories from my thesis. And the first piece is about my sister's maiden ceremony, and it is titled, Beloved and Loving. Every chair in the house overtook the patio. In a long circle sat all the women we knew. Mom leaned forward on the edge of her lawn chair, her silver hair held with a hair stick in a tight bun. She had been waiting for this day excitedly all week, and in a way, for most of her life. Tonight, there are many wise women here to celebrate the start of your journey. Mom swept a hand over the watching crowd, addressing a letter to my big sister Tanya. They are here for you and will help you along the way if you need it. I hope you can feel you can go to them and learn from their own womanly wisdom. This is your village. The first thing we're going to do tonight is make a wreath for Tanya's hair out of flowers that everybody brought, Mom continued. I thought we could each talk about what empowers us or what makes us feel beautiful. Mom rifled nervously in the pine needle basket at her feet, drawing out a wire halo and a roll of green tape. I wanted to say that I feel beautiful when I put on dangly earrings. And one thing that makes me feel strong or empowers me is when I try to follow one of my beliefs or convictions, like not wearing makeup or growing out my hair. The circle laughed at this because Mom's hair was long and scraggly and prematurely gray. She looked like a witch sometimes, especially when she was mad. Which I think about doing otherwise, Mom added defensively, or homeschooling, or trying to be sustainable in this world. She began to wind tape around a pungent tomato red rose snipped from her rose garden, which blossomed behind where I sat next to Grandma Celeste. Susan helped her daughter Molly tape a large white daisy with her fumbling baby fingers. I feel the most beautiful when I do something that I didn't know I could do, Susan Siskin said in her comforting mom voice. The Siskins were a very neurotic homeschooling family. Even though Susan's husband, Bert, was 70, they still had a son recently. The eldest, Sarah Siskin, who was Tanya's best friend, slept all day long and stayed up all night. Susan occasionally called Tanya to ask her for a favor, to be the dynamite that was Sarah's daytime alarm clock. Next was Grandma Celeste. She brought sweet peas. Well, I just want to say that I felt really beautiful listening to my daughter Erin, Grandma began, her lips starting to tremble beside me. And celebrating my granddaughter Tanya, she sniffed. I also feel beautiful when I put lipstick on. She bobbed her head in the confession. I liked Grandma Celeste's nose. It was rounded and made her look like a fox. She had deep hollows in her cheeks. I knew Mom was devastated when Grandma got a facelift, but I thought she was a pretty old lady. I hoped to be like her one day. And now I'm going to jump to the end of the ceremony. Everyone was in sweaters. Tanya wore a windbreaker that was pink and teal to match the color bands on her braces. All around her, the daughters bounced in their chairs, the toddlers drooled on warm laps, and from far off, a peacock meowed from the crazy birdhouse down on Art Street. Mom lit Lori Owner's candle next to her. Lori was one of the leaders of Face LA, our homeschooling group that met monthly in the city. Lori had 9 redheaded children, had sewn over 100 quilts, and taught many of the homeschooling workshops. She played guitar in my chorus class. She had a voice like Joni Mitchell, high and sweet. My blessing for you, Tanya, Lori drew out her name slowly, is that you will be a fabulous failure, which is something I've grown to really come to love and value lately. I realize if you succeed, you stop looking, you stop asking questions, you stop learning, you stop growing once you get there. But if you fail, Lori shrugged her scrawny shoulders. It's one of the best things you could possibly do. And now I'm going to read another coming-of-age story for my thesis, which is about my spring break, and it is titled Fabulous Failure. The crystals floating in the air scratch and burn my eyes, and I want to slink off to the dingy bathroom to rip off my false eyelashes, which pinch with glue at the tender roots. Touching your face with resiny fingertips is like rubbing pepper in the eye. I blink dryly at the searing burn, trying to focus on the serrated leaf I am pulling out of a pine cone-sized nug with my impossible clippers. I put down my work and reach for my nearby lurker bag, rummaging through the depths of loose shake like pine needles, finally closing my blistered palm around my hand mirror. I squint at the damage. My green Italian eyes, usually like two halves of a silky avocado, have become a pair of oily olives floating in a particularly murderous Bloody Mary. Just so you know, Kate, I'm not going to take care of you in 20 years when you've gone blind from using so much eye drops, Shantala says from across the middle table, her brown eyes in her shears as she trims a flower gently with a painter's precision. I tilt my head back, the bright ceiling painfully reflective, enjoying the minty drops glazing my sore irises. I imagine my eyes drinking a tall glass of clear water. Shayna takes out her iPhone. My favorite things in the world, boobs and weed, she says, and snaps a picture of her chiseled cleavage and floral skirt covered in green. Tag Cali Life, Shantala's cheekbones light her face, which is really Cali Life, the rare event of a stoner leaving his house during the day. We chuckle at the snapshot, appreciative of those perfect double Ds burning pink in their halter top under the fierce grow lamps. Shayna's breasts were mistaken as fake only this morning when her boyfriend Seth walked her to the corner to buy her a bouquet, the pungent clouds of jasmine already blazing along the stretching streets of North Hollywood. Are they real? The flower lady asked. They aren't real? Shayna's husky eyes grew into astonished windows that led to the hot blue sky, her arms in a heap of stargazers. I long to say something witty, but my tongue is a cotton puff in my tiny, quiet mouth. I am still working out the definition of Cali life for myself. The three of us are Native Valley girls, women with strong vaginas and volcanoes of hate that tower over the valley like the San Gabriel foothills that I ran over barefoot in my hippie homeschooler childhood, dodging tunnel spiders and drinking in the depleted soil with the pads of my calloused feet. And often, the valley is a huge, small southern town because everyone tries to make each other laugh. Everyone talks quickly, articulately. Humor is competition. It is survival, like the common disease of flakiness that is an epidemic in Los Angeles. My entitled girlfriends will always do what is convenient for them in any situation and will quickly cut off any boring story or crappy joke, even if it is each other telling it. 2 years ago, when I first met them through my short grapevine of non-homeschooling peers, being cut off made me feel like I needed a personality transplant. But then I realized this is asserted honesty and something my overly polite self can learn from. The drug lord saunters in. He has been steadily getting high all day, smoking out of a sunny yellow pipe. He flicks the lighter and smokes standing up, exhaling and staring at us trim out of his huge, dark Armenian eyes, always checking to see if we are stealing butts. He sits down in the big chair at our table and stares into the silver tray. He smokes his pipe, inspecting for missed water leaves, which can encourage mold to grow between the lumps. Drug lords only hire girls, pretty girls, to trim. We are lucky this way. We are always lucky this way. Life is easier for a pretty girl in the city, a sad truth which disgusts me and which we always take advantage of. Last time I visited home for Christmas, I got a $100 bill from a stranger for wearing a low-cut $10 dress at the Blue Room, the sad old man bar where we make our rounds, collecting cash for sushi, stories for laughs, and joints to smoke after hours amid the light of bicycles. But by this point, after 3 days of trimming 12 pounds of weed from over 100 plants, I am over the thrill of being surrounded by more weed than I have ever seen in my life. At first, I collected the tiny flowers from my lurker dress in the bathroom, stowing them in my bra, but now I just brush the white hairs off my burnt skin. We can really use more people so that we do not have to be here all night to finish the final bags. Shayna's dad, a talented drummer, wants to help. He is broke and desperate for work. But when he asked the Armenian drug lord, he said no, girls only. Apparently satisfied, the drug lord gets up from his chair to go water his vegetating seedlings in the next cell over, where a large fan slowly shakes its head by the doorway, causing the delicate leaves and stalks to flutter and pause, flutter and pause. Nice talking to you, Shanna calls after him. He pauses and turns around. You girls make good Armenian wife, he says, and lurks out of the room. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to introduce Amal Hassan, and this intro was written by her brother. You are a writer, you are a poet, you are a painter, you are a multi-talented artist with marvelous imagination. You are caring, you are trusting, you are selfless. Your love knows no bounds, and you will always be an inspiration for me to be the best person I can be. You make me proud. You are my sister.
Hello, everyone. First, I want to thank my mom for being here. I know it was hard for her to be here, and she made it here. Her love throughout my entire life was very strong. I want to thank her so much for being here. And then I want to thank CCA. I want to thank CCA for its amazing writing program, for its film program, for the illustration program, and special thanks to the two comic semesters I had here, the two amazing classes that I had. And I also want to say that everything I did here, everything that I achieved, it's based on the people that I met here. My education, wasn't based on the thesis that I wrote only. It's also based on the talks and the conversations and the walks I had with my friends here and my teachers and my mentors. And I also, without the city, I would not have loved cafe and coffees. I would not even have written anything without them. So I thank every coffee place in San Francisco for that. And the most important thing I would say, I want to thank my teachers. They're the beacon all my life, and the teachers I had here that changed my life forever are four. Carolyn, I just want to thank you for being the best mentor last semester, who were brave enough to let me breathe and not be scared to write my thesis idea. And Matt Shears, I want to thank you for being the first mentor I had and my last. You made me love my poems and not be afraid to show how I feel. And Matt Sility, you have the biggest teacher's heart. You're the first teacher I met that had so much passion for what he does. Even in last week in class, you said the most thing that I love about teaching is teaching and being with you guys, and you are the best, seriously. And Denise Newman, no matter what I say is not enough. You are my teacher, my friend, you're my mentor, and a fellow poet that had the chance to meet and work with all through these past 2 years. You made me not be afraid and go for what I was so scared of the most, and to write my own thesis and not be so afraid of it. And now I'm gonna show a video of the first two poems I wrote in my thesis.
White licks in and out to sleep, the tree burning, the bird tastes the forbidden seed. I leave all men, all words, to live in the corners of my cage. The door won't open, tell me why I'm so afraid. Back when the field was filled with lines of daffodils, you went down to sleep alone, where I almost left my stoned heart. I sort through a shoebox with sunset and thirsty photographs. Scared to sleep alone, I chew on my rope and erase the ache in my mouth. Scared of shadows. For years, I asked you to taste my caramel and tobacco, but I fell, breaking my teeth. Now my bones are in place in a dreadful manner. My own bones have fallen in love with you. I pull my ribs through the black silk, seducing every mother and father in secret. I hold you in a jar. How could you follow me from behind? I didn't tell you I can breathe clouds. You can breathe bees with stunning chemical underneath. Like a thirsty hawk, my body hangs on the clothesline, staring. When will you let me loose? The faded scar of birds and dreams, I walk where sleep is empty inside. Stay inside, and sleep with me. My spirit won't play in that cage. The mask hides certain forms of skin. You color the morning with tales of narcotic heroes while I breathe under clear water. In the cage, I swallow the clear river. Why birds fly over the quay? You laugh on my balcony. Fortune stitch in old satin possessing me. The bargain, my poetry, and a dagger in your arms. Scars tell the stories of love with shadows that can never be touched. They kill themselves and search for survivors. You see this face, no escape. I kneel between separated arms and thighs. I let myself into your chaos. Lips burn less. I'm inclined to use myself. My skin is mine and you are mechanical. Wires rust backwards, turn backwards with me. I still got to show you centuries of instinct. Women composing and compressing dead men. I broke the silence on my forehead, dreaming in black lines. You sing to me a child's song with wounded burls and madness. This captivity can be sold. It's haunted by rotten beasts. Every war is stored in a rock. Never say lips are in exchange for guns. What's my name? I eat my mouth, ecstasy, but there's no trace of it, except the smell of gasoline and gas stains. The memories explode. I don't remember. Nameless shapes pull down the lonely airs of birds. I burn my outline, pull myself out before the purple smoke mixes with the bullets. My rats are a gun, numbers without a breath, in a line on my breast, and blood in glass, fully burn, collapse.
And I have the honor to introduce our next poet, our reader, Chloé Veylit. This intro is written by her best friend, Celia Edwell. Born to a Frenchman and a Midwestern maven named Kathy, a raven-haired little girl braved the arid heat of Riverside, California. She made her way to San Francisco at age 23 and brought her burning passion for literally self-expression with us today is a truly modern woman, beautiful inside and out, who truly lives her craft. At night, she is found in her bed dozing. O'Hara or Dickinson, it clutched in her hands. Poetry, her companion, as she navigates through a vivid dreamscape. Poetry infiltrating her conscious hours, urging her to make manifest stanzas of the most surrealist experiences and unsettling visions. Chloé's drive to create inspires those who are lucky to cross paths with such an intelligent and kind-natured being. I'm pleased to introduce to you today a woman who's more than a poet. Chloé Veylit is a visionary, a dream weaver whose tantalizing verses will transcend the ages. Thank you. Here's Chloé Veylit.
Thank you.
And at once my song is bursting. I am everywhere. I am in San Francisco, in Paris, salt, breeze, sun, in families, watching bullfights over water. I am high sky, clear light, wet arms, sweat, stick, visiting a light drip house with my uncle and his grown children, pressing a flower that smells like licorice and beach dunes also. The Marsh King's daughter. Sober this distance, lotus flower soul, face in the marsh, all blue, all bent over. We are all magic, unsteady as a house. If he's black, stay. If he's white, leave. Voice like drizzle, fast and slow, self-satisfaction in the throat. He asked me, he said, do you? He said, do you know him? And I said no. I lied and I said no. I'm saying no. We are becoming the same smell. We are growing eyes, eyes on backs of knees, eyes rooted in sides, peeking between our toes, and sprouts. We are developing crusts, a taste for starch. The dirt grows inside of us. We are helpless to stop it. We have captured something wild. It poisons us. We are on hands and knees. We are vomiting. We are so many eyes. We have lost our hands to eyes. Our bodies are shrinking, becoming round, hard, limbless. Plant us soon. We will take root. We will stretch. We will climb over ourselves. We need only a little rest. Put us in dirt. We crave dirt. Pull it over us like comforters. Take us soon. We are so very hungry. Hungry for dirt, for a burned taste. Discard us. Leave us. Let us fall apart. Manning. It's easy to slip a tongue into insult. Slivers of thin leaf, sheer plastic bag, a hallway of gross self-portraits. And there, do we see waves crashing? And the words roosting in our rafters. It seems we are infested. We can come around the long way about, earthquakes kept ricocheting in cabinets. pale gleam of far-off wound, primal nighttime spent, lightning in the moving car. Brussels said silence. Tell us the myth when Mom met Dad. A bar, a meal, an old man drank, and Dad rode in on PK Dick's wild horse. Mom wore red tits or didn't. She had to look in every place that was not there, in words and signs on highway motels, large roads of sagebrush. She had to cast a spell of wild film stock, flower buds, foxtails, and wine-sap blood. But she found him, Dad, and put him all back, piece by piece. We tire of milk, honey, and jam in bowls. We swim in bowls, our fish is dead. His name was Saint, and he, years in the drift, knew how to be gone. He turned on his side. That's how you do it. Sons teach your fathers. This is how to do it. Sea silt, salt sick. Salty sea, a rocky lakeshore. We stopped at a rocky lakeshore where the rocks were the bones of fish and the shells of shrimp, and they were all white, and this place was in the rocky desert wild with bluff cliffs and small, angry shrubs. Perhaps I thought I saw a fox, a coyote, a cougar, and I thought, this is what wild is. Poem for Saturday night. Eyes so tired, objects ebb and flow, breathe. What was that line? It was poetry. Earlier tonight, Tracy said, let's imagine sex differently. I said differently. She didn't. I said, let's imagine. But I wasn't talking about sex per se. I was talking about something like how in the car we were talking about death and dying, and how when a sound moves through the void, is that energy too? But we sipped on small frustrations. We were all shy-eyed and half smiles in the bathroom. I thought I was drunk, but really it was last call, and then there was formica tables and carpet and stone men waving arms to music, capturing chess pieces. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't any night at all, and I'm sitting here cross-legged, creeping around the still closed doors, sleep in pools rolling in under the bed frame. All I want to do is tell people I love them. All I want to do is acknowledge this awake. Ambition. Something green in the snow, a windbreaker, a curled hand, a face embalmed in light. These are wings. Carry us a little longer. Cradle us in what makes the air so big. We are all a lack of air right in front of you. Vowels. It was her first Ophelia that sank me, like the bathtub, like the dream that makes the libertarian. Clutch his porcelain, Ron Paul from behind the curtain. How would I write greenness? Except the more I think about it, time isn't directional so much as singular. The wind, a leaf, a small boy crying, sitting on a green wide hill. And he's fingering your speech in his pockets, clutching steps in love and possibly all the bad answers, sprouting from this new place here. Goth cough, Philip Roth, a mortality, play on the street, men in masks playing master, mistress Anne, she swallowed sweet temperance. Dancing pennies, dog on my chest, knees as good as rose hips. The towering woman bends at the waist. Mother of pearl reflects the eyes, cultures the mouth. No call. Birthlight and divination. Wrote, I'm trying to say, long shots, frog bellies. I miss you. Toy houses, paper fire, mycological understanding of time, the iPad, brimstone mouth. Hortense was in diamonds, shrapnel, bursting stars. My sister is the flower on the branch. Congratulations, apology. The ring of a cup. 2012, year of the apocalypse. Just sounded right. All the survivors. Huddled, water. Please press 3. More options. Cinematic seconds. No soap and it floats. What a butthole. Long tradition of new faces. Tricks not to show. America knows how to create a show business culture. Grease paint hangs the moon. Thing is, truth's a slippery bastard top hat, wearing long legs, with a dose of patriotic shuffling. Who knew reading hallucinogenic moss could be so thrilling amongst the Lutherans? this bowing brigade. We're donning bowlers now, ball joint at the waist. It's sinister, sinister. And that final memory, a green-lit pool, eyes in mine shafts, a swan. Where else would we have gone, our moment of inception ever interfering? Watershed. Lift this bright string, minutia transverse a very blackness caught in our dimension as a fish in a mirror, ungracious flit of twisting light, the very buzzing in our mouths. Many-fingered bureaucracy strangling and suffocating, fine fingers lapping at throats, slow waving an enemy on this April, no last April, or the April the year your sister first dated that jerk, which led to a line of jerks, and now your sister's eyes go baggy and you hear them on the phone inhaling and exhaling like cats. And heavens, you filled out the wrong form. We asked for your dreams in the general sense, and see, you've written, at night the black tar comes up from the shoreline into your bedroom on the second floor, waiting fruit trees, the black tar matching your knuckles, your throat, your ears. Triple threat, what is beige carpet ceiling, counting out the numbers to jeopardy in your pink stuffed giraffe, complete with tiny pill body accompaniments, slinging mom's new needles into the black leather sofa, while you wait for the doctor to pinch off another toe, which jumps up immediately to recite Hamlet, the Constitution, and sing you to sleep with Albanian lullabies, bullets you've known so well. Thank you. Good news. This evening we have a job announcement. It turns out that our next reader, Susan Lynn, needs a publicist. Her thesis committee realized this when she told them she didn't intend to do thank yous. That's not the right answer. We need someone to write, Susan Lynn thanks her committee, Shanti Sekran and Cooley Windsor. She thanks John Lasky, who founded the MFA in Writing Program and created Word World. Susan thanks Governor Brown. Susan thanks President Obama. See? That's fun. Susan said that she didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings by not publicly thanking them. But those people shouldn't be hurt. They should hire a publicist too. When Susan was asked if she intended to tell the audience this evening that she's reading from a novel she's writing, she answered, nah. Here the publicist should step in to provide that vital information. New novel, excitement, watch the board. We need a publicist who will tell the truth. Susan Lynn is a dynamic, emerging artist, exactly the kind of person who should study writing at an art school. Susan has thrown herself into illustration, the creation of pop-up books. She is staying up all night to create animations. Her novel in progress features lost love, Asia Minor, dinosaurs, hallucinogenic drinks, erotic episodes, personal visions, and family life. You either get it here or you don't get it. You wouldn't have known this important information without a press release. So, aspiring publicists, please meet your new client, Susan L. Lynn.
Yeah, so apparently I'm looking for a publicist, and Two dinosaurs fight over a single foot-long chili cheese cone. Condiments surround the perimeter of the arena. Mason jars full of sweet relish and sauerkraut, flanked by bottles of tomato ketchup, honey mustard, hickory smoked barbecue sauce. The dinosaurs have come prepared for a feast. We size them up, place bets, and scribble numbers in black ledgers. The two tyrannosaurs are approximately the same height and build, evenly matched. Both sets of arms equally puny. Each swipes at the air in a futile attempt to hold the other one back. Their foreheads drip sweat. We egg them on in awe of their healthy appetites. happy to witness, for once, two creatures who don't stand naked in front of a mirror every morning, hoping that the fat will shrink away, counting calories at the breakfast table, making empty bargains with a bathroom scale that can promise us nothing. People, spelled P-E-P-L-E, are people, spelled P-O-P-L-E, who have misplaced their belly buttons. 1. People are strange creatures, she once told him. If you look into their navels the right way, you can see their mothers. An outrageous claim, but very soon he began to believe it was true. When he awoke the morning after, the bed sheets had been kicked to the floor, the aftermath of fingerprints on his exposed stomach. Over breakfast, between mouthfuls of scrambled eggs and overcooked hash browns, she had endless stories to tell. He was late to work that day. 2. Easter had not yet arrived when she abandoned him and their 2-year-old son. He sat at the kitchen table well before sunrise and punctured eggshells with the wrong end of the spoon, whisked the raw yolk in a shallow mixing bowl. He didn't answer the door when the bell rang, only looked out the fisheye lens and muttered "people" like a curse underneath his breath. People, 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 people. Over and over again, he repeated the word until it began to sound rather familiar, rather like another. 3. Years later, his son's school compositions hung secured by a magnet on the refrigerator door, the only flaw, a single incorrect spelling. He didn't know where to begin explaining that the O inside was silent, a dark hole that appeared in the road ahead without warning. How easy it was to fall in, to surrender to the temptation of a periscope's lens, the promise of catching a glimpse of something other. After that, he found himself hovering where the small boy's bedside at night. People were gateways to the past, he concluded, closing one eye and looking in with the other, our bodies like seashells, a container for the uncontainable ocean. And this last one's called "The Organ Thief's Daughter Gives Birth to a Healthy Baby Boy." A father stands inside the observation room of the maternity ward, waiting. He thinks, if only our skin operated like a glass display case, transparent in a way that allowed us to peer inside one another, at once able to comprehend the intricacy of our innermost workings. If only we could see our organs arranged within like trophies on a shelf. Then we would always be privy to witness their beauty, as well as their inevitable impending failures. We could find weakness and strength in torn cartilage and atrophied musculature. We could diagnose a fractured bone without an x-ray, watch as a heart struggled to find its last beat, catch a glimpse of the fetus before it emerged into the world. And that glass enclosure would refract light, as glass does, reflecting a picture of the surrounding landscape off its surface, so that we might sometimes be confronted by the mirrored image of ourselves, our own facial features, our own transparent display case of a body, a showcase of our most prized possessions on exhibit for all the world to see. These filthy city streets transformed into history museums and art galleries, or backlit jewelry counters at high-end boutiques, intersections teeming with people, warm bodies safeguarding their precious transplanted stones. Neonatal wristbands decorate our forearms like bracelets. Here I am, they proclaim. Look close at what you see, because this is who I am, deep down. When that jacket unzips and that shirt comes off, when I unbuckle my belt and the velvet curtain parts. See this brain, this is how I perceive. See these lungs, this is how I receive. See this heart, this is how I lead. This is how I love, this is how I live. And with a simple incision, a simple exchange, this is how you will one day keep living too. Thank you. Written by Erin Ginder-Shaw. Ever pet a tiger at a gas station or witness a tsunami from a mountaintop? Our next reader has. Ever wondered what it would be like if you were allergic to heights? If you could breathe underwater, yell in slow motion, or subsist entirely on Irish whiskey, the yeah-yeah-yeahs, and all things penned by Eileen Miles, our next reader has. Every sight, every slight, every taste, sound, misplaced expression, overheard conversation, afternoon in the sun, evening in the rain, spur of the moment, heart to heart, wrist shot, slap shot, cross-check, party on a rooftop, concert in a coliseum, 3 p.m. at the parkside, erratic adventure, wink, drink, link. Every moment is fuel, and through a tricky combination of vivid language, staggering imagination, and heartbreaking insight, our next reader will expertly fuse all of it. Please help me welcome the lovely, the talented, and totally rock and roll Miss Sarah Bushman.
Wow, okay. Thanks, Erin Ginder-Shaw. I'd like to take a second to thank my thesis committee as well. Carolyn Goodwin, if you're out there, old CG man, our Tuesday meetings kept me together. Olson and Shears, you guys have been amazing. And then also Donna, Joseph, and everybody else that I actually haven't worked with who've just been awesome influences. So thanks. And also my fellow peers and those that graduated last year and the MFAers of 2014. You guys rock. So I'm reading a section from my thesis, which is turning into this wicked, long beast of a thing. It's called The Newest King. It's the first chapter, so you don't really need to know anything. I am the new door girl. My hair is dark and short and stubbed into 2 little pigtails sticking out from the side of my head. I am tired. It's my first night of work. I stand in a booth by the door wearing a black wife beater, jeans, Converse with no socks, a studded leather belt, and red lipstick. I notice a bunch of baby lesbians dressing as wannabe drag kings trying to scurry past me. I'm yelling at them to stop and pay a $3 cover charge when Randy strolls up with his long painted sideburns and short platinum hair pushed up into a faux hawk. $3, please. I slap my hand on the counter and yell over the music. I don't pay cover, I'm a performer, he says, as he gives me a look like, don't you know who I am? Oh, sorry, I just need you to sign the... I fumble around the yellow booth for the guest list the manager gave me earlier. Out of a corner of my eye, I see Tommy running across the bar, waving a clipboard in the air. I just need you guys to sign the guest list. Tommy shoves the clipboard at me and gives Randy a handshake hug and a, hey, buddy. I am waiting, watching, a line grow out the door. I clear my throat. Tommy moves aside. Randy writes his name slowly. His mouth parts and he flicks his tongue ring against his teeth as he makes a circle around the A in his name, an anarchy sign. His girlfriend is staring at him, waiting for the pen. He hands it to her, and I see her roll her eyes as she signs the sheet. Are you new? He asks. I haven't seen you before. Yeah, tonight's my first Wednesday night. The girlfriend looks up from the clipboard and gives me her piercing blue eyes. I suck in my breath and snatch it back from her. Thank you for doing that, I say to both of them. Sure, it's no problem, he says. The girlfriend glares, and he grabs her hand. They disappear into the dark club, and I go back to feeling robotic, but remembering last summer. Last summer, I'd gone to some drag shows with this girl I dated for a minute. It was a drag competition, like American Idol, called Drag It Out. It was in this very same bar. The San Diego Kings Club were looking for a new king. Every week, the contestants were given a genre, and they had to choreograph a number to a song of their choice. It was a process of elimination based on lip syncing, dancing, costume, and crowd response. I never actually watched the show. I stood in the back giggling with a group of girls from the East Coast who were cooler than everyone else. But I remember Randy and his electric performances. His winning performance was on country night. He wore a green plaid sleeveless shirt, exposing his unfinished sleeve of tattoos, a cowboy hat, Converse, and ripped jeans. He performed a punk rendition of You Think My Tractor Is Sexy. When he took his belt from his jeans and swung it over his head, the lesbians couldn't contain themselves. They screamed and shouted and threw dollar bills onto the stage. Their reactions reminded me of the teenage girls in the 60s, swooning over the Stones or the Beatles. His electric energy bounded him across the floor. His legs never stopped moving. It was impossible to snap a still shot of him without a flash. He was just a blur or a white or orange in the frame. This girl, Kiki, who I found interesting because she was into BDSM, whispered in my ear, "I wonder what he's like in bed." I choked on my beer as I watched Randy climb up on the bar, singing the lyrics to this ridiculous country song, while women were shoving dollar bills in his pants. He jumped off the bar, over the crowd of women, sitting on the floor, and landed in the middle of the stage, and the crowd screamed again. I laughed and shook my head. Randy exited the stage, and the MC, who is a drag queen, gets on the mic. "Wow, what a performance! Let's give it up for Randy." At the end of the show, they announced who would be eliminated. There were only 2 left, Randy and this other guy. The suspense was pretty intense, and I felt bad for the other guy because there was no way you could top Randy. After about 3 minutes of silence and a bar packed full of women holding their breath, the MC announced Randy Shaft as the newest king. The next Sunday, I'm scheduled to work the patio bar. Women are everywhere. Women with shaved heads, women with tattoos, women with motorcycles, sporty women, business women, Navy women, military women, 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 women. Lately, my life has been like this. I choose one, I get bored, I meet another one, crawl out of her window on a rainy night, then meet another, and I can't settle. I'm watching the women pass by me thinking about the potential for one-night stands, making out, and adding more notches to my lesbian belt. I'm really bisexual, but I'm a little scared to say it out loud. I've slept with the same number of men as women. I don't really want my employer to know this, so I generally don't talk about my exes. Sundays are the bar's busiest days, mostly because of football. I hate football, and I hate football lesbians. The butch football lesbians are the worst, with their jerseys looking kind of gangster, usually having some femme-type thing with big hoop earrings in tow. The femmes and the butches stare me down as I check their IDs. They don't get why I am working the door. I don't look tough. I don't look like your typical bouncer at a lesbian bar. I am not small, but I'm not big either. My hair isn't short or long. Mostly they're trying to figure out if I'm butch or femme. What the fuck doesn't matter? All I know is that I used to play sports, I've taken down dudes in mosh pits, and I was hired because I know how to properly restrain someone if need be, and I am not afraid of confrontations with drunk people. But they don't know that, so I just check their IDs and send them into the bar. Tommy, my other guard, is standing on the other side of the door, watching the women mill around. He is my backup. His dad is a sheriff for Jackson County in Northern California and used to work security for the Raiders. After the line of lesbians enters the wooden patio, Tommy emerges and lights a cigarette. He stands in front of me, the sun at his back. "So you're dating who?" he asks. "The bartender from Baja Betty's." Everyone knows who she is, and I feel proud saying this because, yeah, I'm working on landing the hottest bartender in town. We go on motorcycle rides, and she takes me to nice dinners, I say, trying to justify something because Tommy can tell I am not intellectually stimulated by this person. "When did you get a motorcycle?" he asks. "I didn't. I ride on the back of hers." "Jesus Christ, woman, you trust her enough to be on the back of her bike?" "Well, no, not really." "Then why are you doing it? You should be riding your own bike, not on the back of someone else's. Who else are you dating? Out with it." Tommy leans back against the wooden wall, her eyes squinting with judgment, forehead wrinkled, nose scrunched. She moves her glasses up to the top of her nose. Her short brown hair is covered with a black beanie, 6'1". She stands over me, fatherly. A plain black shirt tucked into her dark blue Levi's 501s, her Serbian tattoo peeking out from under the sleeve. "Heather, kind of." "Oh, good God, that one's a mess too. We need you to find someone better than both those clowns." "What about that one over there?" He points to Randy, who is mowing down a hamburger in the corner and chugging a $1 Bud Light. I slap Tommy's hand down. "Dude, don't point. Isn't that Randy Shaft?" "Yeah, so?" "But I don't date drag kings." "Well, he's not just any old drag king. He's a photographer, too. I can see you guys dorking out together." "I don't know, Tommy. You're dating idiots." My eyes survey the crowd and shoot back to Randy. They move up and down, checking out her style outside of the drag persona. Her skin matches her shirt and hair. She is almost one color. "That's it. I'm going to set this up." "Tommy, no, it's so embarrassing, and I'm moving to Seattle." "What? What the fuck is in Seattle?" "Nothing, and I'm looking forward to it." "Well, this is the first I've heard of this. You aren't really moving to Seattle." Tommy always calls me out on my bullshit. I just got back from visiting my best friend from high school. She has a nice big studio in Capitol Hill, manages an Urban Outfitters, and her life is drama-free. She is depressed because she is bored. I want to be bored. I want to be anywhere but San Diego. Everyone I know has gotten stuck in this town. I refuse to be a statistic. I said I would leave after I got my degree, and well, here I am. I pull out a cigarette from my sweatshirt pocket, but I'm lighterless. Tommy leans in and lights it for me. Oh, chivalry isn't dead. Thank you. All right, I now have the lovely pleasure of announcing Miss Erin Ginder-Shaw. I wrote her intro, so it's not as good as the intro she wrote me, though. All right, I think I may have been the only one to pronounce Erin's last name correctly upon meeting. It's with a soft G, Ginder-Shaw. I met Erin standing in the line during orientation, waiting for our CCA IDs. I didn't know when I met her that I would convince her to move a half a mile away from me. I didn't know I would befriend a Giants fan, a hula hoop extraordinaire, and a beer pong buddy for life. I want to thank her for her listening ear, her idea for a Healdsburg riding retreat, long walks through the Oakland Hills, and motivating me to go to AWP. Her sense of adventure is captivating and can be seen in her amazing short stories. She paints pictures of music, nostalgia, friendship, and mystery. Jennifer Egan, watch out. Here's Erin Ginder-Shaw.
I can't breathe.
Okay, for starters, I'd like to thank the brilliant and remarkably patient John Lasky. He's been working with me for 3 of the last 4 semesters. My rock star thesis committee, Donna and Shanti, Eric Olson, Al Young, Amy Fawn, my parents, Tom, Denny, the Valenciae, the San Francisco Giants, and of course the amazing and entire class, MFA writing class of 2013. I would not be standing here without you guys. Okay, I'm going to read 2 beginnings, 2 entirely separate short stories. So, anyway. I remember the first words she said to me. Do you have an extra number 2 pencil? Of course I did. It was the first week of 10th grade geometry, Mr. Michael's class, and since there were no H, I, or J last names, Amanda sat directly behind me. Every day she showed up late, and every day I wondered where she'd been. She alternated her outfits between a tight black tank top with ripped jeans, a tight white tank top with ripped jeans, and a tight Bob Dylan tank top with ripped jeans. She smelled like cigarettes. She made me want to run home immediately to trash my rainbow assortment of Old Navy sweaters and collection of Third Eye Blind cassettes. One day Amanda tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I knew who Ringo Starr was. I said yes. Thankfully, my parents only played 3 albums in the house growing up. 1, the soundtrack to The Birdcage. 2, Tony Bennett duets. And 3, Please Please Me. That third one stuck. When Amanda heard this, her eyes lit up. She leaned her unfairly large, seriously pushed up breasts across her desk and said, "You should totally come over after school and watch Yellow Sub with me. It's rad." When we got to her house, nobody was home. Amanda threw her backpack on the couch, instructed me to do the same, pointed to the den where the television/VCR was kept, and disappeared upstairs. I sat on the bright purple beanbag chair in the center of the room. I stood up. I sat back down. I attempted to conjure every bit of Beatles trivia I'd ever heard anywhere ever. After a few minutes, she returned, Yellow Submarine tape in one hand, joint in the other. "I found it," she exclaimed, referring, of course, to the pot. "You smoke?" I nodded furiously. too furiously. Amanda smiled. The truth was that the only time I'd ever seen marijuana was in our freshman year survival skills textbook under the caption, "Drugs aren't something you should do, they're something you should don't." I was terrified. Luckily, after one or two full-body coughing fits, which Amanda gratefully ignored, everything just sort of slowed down, and Yellow Submarine became a hilarious illusion chock full of runny colors and tiny men in silly hats. We spent the afternoon stoned, glued to the purple beanbag chair, watching the film on repeat. After that, we were inseparable, and suddenly I was cool. It seemed clear that hanging out with Amanda made me attractive, interesting, and desirable by association. She was dangerous and captivating all in one breath, and everybody wanted to be around her, especially the boys. Mostly she ignored them, as though she couldn't be bothered by their meager affections. I ignored them too, even though I didn't want to. I saw the way they looked at her, practically drooling over her soft curves and voluptuous breasts, silently hoping that one of them would look at me that way. Amanda found this silly. "High school boys will always be around waiting for you to drop a pencil or lean too far over a tray of ketchup-covered tater tots in the cafeteria," she'd say as she carefully checked herself out in the locker room mirror. "It's predictable and annoying." Despite my longing, I believed her. She seemed to understand some things I did not. Plus, we didn't need any emotionally stunted boys holding us back. During the school week, our afternoons were full of music at full volume on her dad's stereo, repeat viewings of Yellow Submarine, small joints, carrot sticks, low-fat peanut butter covered saltines, and extensive blurry discussions of The Catcher in the Rye, also the occasional episode of The Real World. At 6 o'clock every day, my parents would ruin it by calling to remind me that dinner was almost ready. I loathed these phone calls. Amanda found this amusing, and she would giggle as she walked me to the front door. I looked forward to our routine from the moment I left her house to the moment the 3 o'clock bell rang each day. The time in between became irrelevant. On the weekends, we would gather a small group, Amanda, me, Kimberly, Danielle, Kimberly's older brother, and his friend Charlie, grab a 24-pack of Coors Light, and head down to the river. We'd swim, smoke, drink, and play music on Kimberly's JVC boom blaster. We were bulletproof. Okay, beginning number 2. Totally different speaker, totally different story. Just so you know. Okay, January 11th. Dear Sean, has anyone ever told you that when you get upset or frustrated or angry, your left eye twitches? I've witnessed it many times, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. I know for a fact that there's nothing wrong with your eyes. You've never worn glasses, you've never been punched there or sustained any traumatic injury. If there was ever a bout with conjunctivitis, I'm sure it was short-lived, occurred at a young age, and was ultimately inconsequential. Therefore, your seemingly uncontrolled movement was absurd. Rude, really. It diverted my attention. I watched you stare at me in heavy silence, your left eye going through some kind of miniature convulsion, and all I wanted to do was leap across your Rosa Fresca granite countertop, grab your face, and hold it still. Of course, you had no idea this was going on. You probably didn't even feel it. Plus, if you did feel it, it wasn't like you were going to make a big deal of a twitchy eye in the middle of the end. You were serious, and you asked me a question, and I can't remember what it was. 5 inching hours later, I still can't. January 21st. Dear Sean, I'm sitting on the kitchen counter drinking a double tequila sunrise. It's 9:46 a.m. and it's Wednesday. 45 minutes ago, you strolled past my ramshackle Jetta in the Safeway parking lot. That's it. I just locked the door and you were 3 cars over. There were no words exchanged. There was no eye contact. But seeing you was like standing one-footed on burning coals with a glass vase on my head trying to keep breathing. The slightest gesture would have laid me out, face first, onto searing fire. You were wearing that painfully orange shirt we bought at a gas station on our way to Boise for Christmas, and I was hanging stork-like in the balance, praying that you wouldn't turn your head 2 inches to the right. The bullshit truth is that I don't really know how we got here, and I'm not even sure where it hurts exactly. I do know that this is not what I signed up for. February 13th. Dear Sean, I missed the taco stand. thick, greasy vats of blackened pinto beans, grilled chicken, fried tortillas, guacamole, fresh salsa, wafting, slinking, settling in your living room. It drove me crazy at first, the way you'd leave the front door open, inviting the smells in to permeate the couch, the carpet, even the bed. The other night, in a state of ravenous desperation, I opened a can of Bush's Best, poured the refried gems in a plastic bowl, threw a prepackaged Mexican cheese blend over the top, and turned the microwave on high. As the deplorable snack warmed, I wandered so deeply into odoriferous nostalgia that I let it liquefy, plastic and all. My apartment still smells like the inside of a smoldering litter box. My first introduction to the taco stand was on the first night as you fumbled with keys. They were going strong across the street, and you kept muttering facts about the structure's rickety yet reliable interior. I didn't give a shit. I was antsy as hell, and you took a good 3 minutes to unlock the door. For just a moment, I wondered if it was really your house, and if your name was really Sean, and if you'd really sung backup for Blues Traveler one time in the 90s. You cursed and apologized, which was funny because up to that point it was a game, maneuvered in a tangle of brief text messages, countless drinks, transparent expressions, and sticky conversation. When the lock finally did turn, you took my hand. You'd been doing it all night, and I went with it because I got the feeling you had moves. The kind of moves you read about in tiny snippets tucked in the back of trashy self-improvement magazines. You know the ones with glistening muscles on the cover and full-page ads for ejaculoid stuck between the yoga retreats and the top 6 secrets to perfect abs. Unfortunately, I was right. Thank you. Now Amy's coming up.
Another round of applause for our ladies tonight. And please join us for our reception at our writer's studio. We'll see you there.